Hey, Kate, thanks for coming to Wild Heart Athletics podcast. I really appreciate this opportunity to interview you and get to meet you and learn all about you. And I'd love for you to just introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, thanks for having me. Yes, my name's Kate Brim. I'm a paracyclist for Team USA and Team Novo Nordisk. I've been hand cycling for about 5.5, 6 years total now. And I started competing at the elite level. This is about year three for me now. And yeah, my career, it took off pretty fast, but I've loved every single bit of it. And it's been quite the journey for sure.
All good. And so, congratulations, I hear, because you just made the Paralympic team, correct?
That I did, yes. It was quite the journey getting there, but it was absolutely insane that, once that announcement happened and I got that call overnight, just realizing that I made the team, I really couldn't even take it in because I was just so shell shocked over the whole thing and everything that had gone on. I just am now and I'm feeling so humbled and excited to get to the start line. And I'm extremely happy that I have an amazing team around me getting me there.
It's great to hear. So, what was it like when you finally got that call? And could you also kind of describe how the race went to get there for the qualifying race?
Yeah, so me, it was kind of a unfortunate situation getting there. My bike had unfortunately taken some structural damage that we really do not know how showed up, and it cracked all across the back. And so I had to scramble for quite a few days, a couple weeks to figure out a repair job for it to get it race ready. We got a last minute repair job done to get it race ready. And so for me, getting to that race, I was very nervous knowing that I'm racing a bike that was not, like, truly, you know, "Let's re-weld this bike," or "Let's refinish this bike." It was a, "Let's see what we can do to hold it together for this one race," knowing that we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and that's exactly what we did. So yeah, I got there to that start line quite nervous. And I was let know that, hey, this is gonna have to be addressed, during the before you go to games and stuff, to get a permanent resolution. And so, I did my race and did as good as I could, and it, got me the ticket that I needed. But as soon as I got that call as far as making the team, I knew I just had that much more work to do, to get me race ready. But I'm so excited to have been named to the team, and I'm so excited to be able to race amongst a bunch of athletes who have all given it their all as far as getting themselves to the race course, which is going to be truly amazing.
That's incredible too. Like you said, you've only been doing it for 3 years now, hand cycling.
Hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
So, if you wouldn't mind, what do you love about hand cycling? Like, what got you kind of into it, and then what really just got you hooked on the sport?
Yeah. Me, the big thing. The big thing is just for me, it was just getting back to doing what I love. And for me, that was physical activity. And thankfully, when I sustained my injury, I was sent to a rehab hospital who their whole mission was to get people back to doing what they love, whether that be in the community, whether that be through sports, you name it, that was their mission. And so it was truly incredible just being able to be surrounded by nothing but, hey, what do you like to do? And let's get you back to doing what that is. And for me, I didn't know what that was actually at the time. And so it was a lot of just saying yes to opportunity that was thrown my way. I was trying every single thing possible out there, that people offered to me, and I ended up falling in love with wheelchair rugby and hand cycling. And hand cycling in particular, it's an individual sport, so the work that I put in is the result that I would get out. And for me, it just got me stronger and stronger and stronger and more independent. And then, after enough time, finally, doing community rides, people started egging me on to start racing. And I finally said yes, and it very quickly took off from there for me, and it was absolutely incredible.
So, what was it like going from the community rides to now racing?
Yeah, the first race that I did, I knew I fell in love with it just because of, one, the crowds that are there, but being amongst people who are in similar situations to myself, it was just a huge eye opener to me as far as like, hey, yeah, these people are going through very similar things and giving it their all, so I can too. And that's what my whole racing mission has turned into is, going out there and giving it my all to show both myself and others, you know, the sky's the limit as far as what we can do. Um, I love racing, but I'm in it for my mission of exactly that. And it's been amazing doing that. I've done it both on both sides of the fence, both with racing and just both with pleasure riding, and it's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's great. You guys get to do that, and like that's how the community comes together. And I really noticed that when it comes to like adaptive athletics, you guys are so competitive, but yet you guys are so close to each other. And I think that's really great. You see all the support, and I noticed it with like climbers that I've got to see and work with before. It's truly inspiring to watch. It's great to watch you guys and like just to hear you guys talk about it. And kind of going into it, you mentioned that now that you've got selected for the Paralympic team, it's like, okay, now the training is starting to ramp up. So, how does the training compare, like getting to the trials, going through the trials, and now that you're about to go into the Paralympics?
Yeah, for me, it's a little different, because I unfortunately am dealing with having gotten over a pretty serious kidney infection that put me in the hospital for 2 weeks. So for me, I have to believe that, I have my fitness built, but I've just got to rebuild up to that and let my body continue to heal from this infection. And so, we've got just about a month until game rate for our first race to happen. And so I have to believe in myself that I've got plenty of time for that to happen. But I just have to trust in my team and trust in my body that I'm going to be able to get there. For me, I'm not trying to gain an extra couple watts. I'm trying to really take care of my health right now so that I can do my best come race day. It's just not like, a lot of athletes right now. A lot of athletes are really trying to work towards keeping the fitness that they currently had from Loma Linda, or even some are trying to get it even a little better and stuff. It's all a very individual basis, case to case situation as far as it. And, we just have to all take it one day at a time. And that's exactly what I've been doing, especially since this infection.
Is there anything specific that you're trying to do? I know you said you're kind of taking not a step backwards, but you're monitoring your health, which is important. But what have you done to maybe retail your training until you're ready to kind of start ramping up again?
Yeah, right now it's just getting the arms moving again. It sounds, pretty cliche, but it's seriously as simple as that. I am just getting myself on the bike and getting moving, getting myself in my day chair and stuff, and in my rugby chair, just getting moving. I'm not doing anything crazy hard right now. I'm just working towards getting my energy levels up and, my appetite back up and stuff. And so it's just one day at a time. That's been getting stronger every single day. And so I know it's going to continue doing that. I just have to be patient and know that I can't go from 0 to 100 overnight. And so definitely just have to be patient, which is definitely hard, especially this close to the games.
Oh, I'm sure it is hard, but always being patient is the hard thing, especially when it comes to
Hmm.
injuries and having to take a step back.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid is, one, just getting myself healthy, but also two, because of how sick I got, not causing another injury to pop up. And so yeah, I'm really, really having to trust my team and my body that I will be ready race day, and it'll be here before we know it. So
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, supposedly.
Yep, exactly.
But you keep mentioning your team. I'd love to kind of learn more about it. Like do you have like a trainer and stuff like that that helps you with when it comes to training plans and nutrition, stuff like that? And then I'm sure you have a team for when it comes to maybe fixing a couple of things on the bike. And I'm pretty confident you probably know how to fix certain things too, though.
Yeah, so I am very fortunate to be supported by Team USA and our national paracycling team. And so for me, that has involved sports medicine, dietitians, strength and conditioning coaches, physical therapists. We've got a bike mechanic. And it's, that whole team is literally what's made this machine be able to run as strong as it has been. And without them, I would not be where I am today. Because, a big thing I'm a believer of is yes, paracycling in many ways is an individual sport, but it is just as much of a team sport due to, all the outside factors that we have. Keeping our bodies tuned in, constantly seeing PT and strength and conditioning to keep myself strong and balanced and mobile and stuff. But then I've also got a specific coach just for my bike to be able to prescribe workouts and stuff. Then I've got dietitians who are helping me monitor my fuel intake and also just helping me manage my type 1 diabetes around my racing and stuff. And so, with this, every single one of my providers that I have, from, like I said, from sports med, sports psych, strength and conditioning, PT, dietetics, all of it is what allows me to be as strong as I am. And without them, I would not be here today. So,
That's incredible. You have like all these people like right there. That's really great. You get to have that.
yeah, yep, it's been amazing. I've been out here at the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center for almost 2 years now, and having everything right within pushing distance has truly been incredible. And I just am so thankful to be able to be out here. And so, yeah, I cherish every moment of it, and continue to do so, and continue hope to be able to continue to do so for many, many more years. So,
Well, yeah, I can't wait to see all the stuff you get to do, especially after the Paralympics, which I know that's the culminating event right now, especially with everything you got going on. But what's kind of like your daily routine as far as when it comes to training and things like that? Could you give us kind of like maybe just like a week view?
so typically, on a normal basis, I'm doing strength and conditioning 3 days a week, PT 3 days a week, and then usually I'm visiting with my dietitian around, I would say every couple weeks to once a month, and also just chatting on the side about how things are going. So that's kind of the off the bike stuff, but on the bike stuff, I'm typically on my bike 6 days a week riding. And so, yeah, you look at it all and it adds up pretty quickly. And before we know it, everything that's come up and everything that we're doing on our bike, off the bike, ends up turning into a full-time job, which I did not expect, especially considering before this I was working a full-time job and cycling, and thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with myself with these extra 60 hours a week? And it's just ended up turning to be just as busy now that I've been able to really dial in my training and my needs.
I got you. And so since you got, your strength and conditioning and your nutrition on point, are you kind of like really adamant about recovery strategies and like how you do that? Like, people try the cold plunges and the saunas and all that, but what's kind of something you like to do or maybe some strategies you do?
Yeah, for me, it's, my biggest thing is really just energy conservation throughout the day is what is going to attribute to me having the best recovery at night possible. I personally have never been too much of a late night person. And so, I'm typically in bed pretty early. But typically I just have noticed is in order for me to get a good night of sleep, I can't do too much during the day, but there's also the other end of doing too little, and I could experience disruption in sleep. And so it's really finding the balance between everything that I'm doing throughout the day in order to be able to best recover myself. And also recovery, that's, partly with PT and massage. They're a big part of my recovery, and just keeping me mobile and making sure things are, all working in the right order as they should be, and working through any injury or illness that I may be going through, like I am right now.
That's great. That's really awesome that, that PTs are able to work with you guys and get out to the training grounds out in Colorado Springs. I've looked into that before. I know they do some like internships and stuff. That's awesome. You got a crew like that. You were talking earlier, though, before you got into hand cycling, that you played wheelchair rugby. So I'd love to kind of hear some stories about that and how that went. And, do you still play occasionally, or now that hand cycling's kind of like, you're on a team, you're for Team USA, is that really the focus now?
Yeah, so for the most part, hand cycling as of the last several months has been the focus, but I always love to be able to pick it up on the side when I can. So especially these next couple years after the games, I will definitely be picking up the wheelchair rugby again because I've always loved it. It's a sport true to my heart. I'm being surrounded by just a bunch of quadriplegics. We're all going through very, very similar situations as far as our disabilities. And it's just a great community of a bunch of people who have been given, just not the greatest of outcomes as far as what we would be capable of. And we're all out here just having a blast, playing on the court, some wheelchair rugby.
So how's that kind of compare to wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, so wheelchair rugby, it is typically you have to have impairment in all four limbs. So unfortunately, it is only eligible for people like I said, people who have impairment in all four limbs. We use actually what looks like a volleyball, and we are trying to score goals by going through two end posts at the end of each court. Whereas in basketball, they're trying to shoot the hoop. We're trying to run through the end zone in order to score. Wheelchair rugby is typically a bit lower of a scoring game. There's a lot more defense, and it takes a bit more to get the ball down the court, compared to wheelchair basketball. But it is just as aggressive of a game, given it is the only full contact wheelchair sport.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I never would have guessed that.
Hmm.
So
Yep,
have
as
you
far as the
guys,
ball sports.
I gotcha. Have you ever, so when you play, have you ever crashed and kind of um, gotten into any collisions or anything?
Oh yeah, for sure. You'll see falls and chairs go back all the time.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I've seen a little bit of the wheelchair basketball and talked to a few wheelchair basketball players, but I haven't had a wheelchair rugby player, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, yep, it's absolutely amazing. I always encourage people to look up the sport because when they do, they're always in shock, as far as just how crazy the sport is. Because when I say it's full contact, it's full contact. The chairs are banging real loud.
Is that what you kind of like about it? Is like all the adrenaline and the action you get and colliding with
There's
each other?
definitely yeah, there's definitely a lot of adrenaline and action with the sport for sure, but you'd be amazed, it's a game of skill, and all the contact that does happen out there is very intentional contact and is done with a purpose, and helping the team get the ball down the court, and so it's quite cool and it's humbling just to see, how physical the sport truly is because of that aspect.
I agree. That's cool that you guys get to do that. That's really awesome. Um, So kind of like, we keep kind of going back and forth here, just kind of going on hand cycling and, talking about rugby. But when you go hand cycling now, do you have like trails that are kind of local to that area that where the training grounds are? And then do you have like set distances that you need to ride and things like that and certain speeds you have to get? Kind of how's it work when it comes to races and like, are there time trials?
Yeah, so fortunately, I have a lot of great riding out here that I'm able to utilize outside. Right now, I'm stuck on the trainer just because of this infection, but thankfully, due to technology today, you can, get the job done on the trainer as well, due to it being able to mimic elevation and stuff, which is definitely a huge help. And so, I'm just taking it a day at a time. My coach prescribes me workouts every day, and they'll typically be interval based. So it'll be, ride for this amount of time in your endurance pace, and then ride for this amount of time, this many times at your race pace with this much rest in between type thing. And so we do a lot of interval based work. There's really not that much time that's spent at super high intensity. We're not going out hard every single time we're out. There's quite a strategy to it, and I let my coach do that, and I just try to do as he tells me. But yeah, it's thankfully I've got a lot of great riding grounds out here outside. In normal circumstances, I'd be utilizing them every single day for sure. Um, but right now, I'm just sticking to the trainer and working on getting my health back. So
Okay, that makes sense. So you guys are
yeah,
doing what like runners would do with tempo runs, essentially.
yeah.
Okay. Now, do y'all have a set distance per race? Like, is it kind of like a set distance, or does it kind of depend on the race and where you guys are going?
It's a little bit different every race that we go to. It depends on how technical it is. Depends on how much elevation gain or loss there is. So it changes a little bit. Our time trials are typically on, I would say, the long end, around 14 miles, but typically I would say between like 10 to 12 miles. So pretty, not real long, but not real short. It just depends on our category that we're in. And our road races, they can be anywhere from, I would say, 20 to 50 miles, depending on the category that you're in. So,
50 miles, huh? That's out
and
there.
I'm a longer the better type person for sure. So
Why is that?
I love the endurance. I can go for a really long time and love every second of it. And so, yeah, I've always enjoyed being out on the bike. It's my happy place. And yeah, so always longer the better for me.
So when you say happy place, what do you mean by that?
For me, it's my escape, just from all the stressors of the day and stuff. I get on the bike and it's where I just am able to feel super freeing and super powerful. And just kind of let all the stressors of that day go away. And so I try to just remind myself that each and every day. And so, yeah, definitely I am very thankful for, having the ability to be on a hand cycle. And I'm super excited come Paris to be able to display the best that I possibly can.
So how do you think hand cycling and now going to the Paralympics has really impacted your life?
Oh man, I don't even have thoughts for it yet. It still all feels so surreal. I'm going there, with my mission that I had and told you from the beginning of, I do this because it shows me what is possible, but it's also showing others what's possible. Team USA especially has this very strong message of show the world, and I've absolutely loved that saying, and that's exactly what has been my drive behind racing, is to show the world what's possible, no matter what your circumstances. The sky's the limit. You're the only one who's holding you back.
Could you kind of describe for us what it's like to be a part of Team USA?
Yeah, it's been incredible. It's allowed me to be able to race all over Europe these last couple of years. This year I get to go to Paris, and then immediately afterwards we have our worlds in Zurich, Switzerland. And so, I've got to explore the world via the bike, and I absolutely love that. Not everyone can say that their job is to go race bikes all around the world, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And I get to explore each and every country that I've been to, via the bike. We're not going from hotel to court. We're doing training rides out on the roads in the towns that we're staying in, and it's absolutely incredible, and I love it.
So we're going to the Paralympics and everything, and you said you guys get to what's cool about hand cycling is, instead of, like you said, going to court, you're actually riding to the other events. And so I'm assuming now, since you're going to be in Paris for the Paralympics and you're done and you're going to the World Championships or the World Cup for you guys, you're going to ride from Paris to Switzerland and do some training rides and stuff like that throughout the way.
Yeah, so me in particular, I will be staying afterwards. I will not be coming back to the US in between. Some athletes will be, but I will be staying, and we will be driving to Switzerland, my mom and I, and getting to explore a little bit of in between there. And I'm super excited for it because I'm going to take every opportunity I can to get some amazing riding in throughout it. And yeah, it's gonna be super exciting and honestly just a really good, debunk from this, build up to Paris, which is gonna be really, really welcome. I'm super excited for Paris. Paris is gonna be pretty strict as far as training, and we have a very designated, training route that we have, that the, International Paralympic Committee has, assigned to us. So that'll be our training grounds, and then, come race day, we'll be able to preview our course maybe once or twice, and then it's race day on our course, and I'm super excited for it because it's quite technical and it's got quite some climbing, which is going to be pretty incredible.
That sounds really epic that you guys get to go over there and get on that course. And like you said, it's got a
Yeah,
bunch of hills and technical. So, you're talking about technical and then you have like time trials. So, and you being really liking the endurance, are you more of a technical rider?
I definitely like the road races the most, because they're longer and they really test one's ability to hang on and pace themselves with the other riders because it's just like marathon style where whoever crosses the finish line the first is the winner. So it's not necessarily a test of strength as it is a test of strategy and understanding the riders around you, which I really like. Brings a lot of fun to the table for sure.
Yeah, and then like you said, it's kind of like that mental game too, right? Of not zoning out too much, looking at the views, but then like you said, it's the marathon pace and pacing yourself. And I can understand that might be a little bit of a challenge because everything's kind of with your hands and stuff like that, and that's where kind of the strength
100%.
conditioning comes in.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, it is a very fine, balanced sport, of making sure everything is dialed in correctly and getting it all back. And so, yeah,
So, do you have any? I have to ask this because a lot of climbers will take like what we call snacks, like to the crag and stuff like that, to kind of help us with energy boost. And so, I'm
hmm
curious, since you like endurance and the marathon style, do you have like little hidden snacks or little like energy gels that you prefer and that you take with you on rides like that, and that you're allowed to use? Are you allowed to use stuff like that in races?
Yep. So yeah, I typically have a carb mix that's in my little camelback that's built into my bike, and I'm sipping on that throughout the race to be able to stay fueled throughout it. Because otherwise, you get what's called the bonk, which many athletes out there are well aware of. Is you go go go, and then all of a sudden you hit that wall real hard. And so yeah, definitely having carbs on the bike and hydration on the bike is very crucial. Our races, typically last around an hour and a half for the road races. And so it's around an hour and a half's worth of energy that I'm trying to conserve and use very efficiently amongst that race. And it is all because of being able to have stuff on the bike. And for me, that is typically actually the company called Martin. And so I use both their gels and their carb powder mix that can mix with water.
Okay, I've never heard of them. I'll have to give them a look at Martin.
Yep, big in the cycling world.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Speaking of, you're talking about how strict they are when you guys are going to go to Paris and things like that. And I know that when it comes to, the Olympics and Paralympics and Olympic community, you guys have to be very strict with like what you ingest and things like that. And are they really strict with you guys on stuff like that?
I wouldn't say necessarily strict, but a lot of us are strict amongst ourselves to try to keep things as consistent and as normal back home. as possible while we're out there in order to be able to be as prepared as possible. So for me, a big part of that is there's going to be a lot more pushing involved in my everyday chair to get myself to meals and to my room and to the buses to get to venues and stuff. And so I am really going to be working hard on energy conservation there in order to make sure that I am as prepared as possible and as energy conserved as possible come race day.
So when it comes to the road races and stuff like that, I know you said it's like kind of the first person across the line wins and things, but is there like a time that you're always trying to shoot for, and that kind of like helps you improve, or is it just like, no, I got to be first?
It's more so I'm just hoping to stay with that lead group is what I'm hoping for. Typically, what will happen a lot is you're working to stay with that lead group, and then there's a sprint finish at the end that happens. And so, yeah, typically it's just working on pacing to be able to keep up with that group. Especially in cycling, drafting is a huge thing. If you lose that draft, it can be really, really, really hard to get back up onto that draft. And so, yeah, really paying attention to who's around you, where you're at on the course, how many laps you have left, how you're doing with fueling, how you're doing with energy conservation. It's all things we're thinking about when we're racing out there.
Sounds like you have a lot that you really have to be mindful of and processing at the same time that you're keeping that cycle going.
Yeah, 100%.
So you mentioned drafting. So do you kind of work on like positioning yourself and things like that? And then at the same time, are you exposed to the race like track before the race itself and like get to run a couple laps? How does that work?
Typically, we do get to preview the course beforehand, which is nice. And so, yeah, typically all of us go into it and having a good idea of what the course looks like. It's not like our riding back home where we're riding it every single day, but on preview day, we're looking for bad ruts in the road or areas to pay attention to because they're a sharp turn or descents or hard climbs. So yeah, typically we are paying attention to that, and then just looking at, like I said before, keeping with that lead group if possible, looking at our energy. How are we doing energy wise? Are we going to be able to push real hard at the end? Are we eating enough on the bike? Are we hydrated? And all the things above. So,
So what's kind of like your personal preparation for the night before?
yep. So for me, it's typically eating, a good amount of carbs, good amount of protein. I'm usually do really, really working hard to make sure all of that is in dial 24/7, but even more so the week of racing to make sure that all my energy stores are to the best of their ability. And the night before a race, the day before, typically I might do an easy ride. Sometimes I'll do a day off, just depending on what racing is looking like for that little event. But yeah, typically I'll do an easy spin with a couple openers, make sure I'm getting some good meals in, and make sure I'm getting to bed early and just resting as much as possible.
I gotcha. And then, so I know you mentioned earlier, you're type 1 diabetic. So are there like other little kind of tips and tricks that you utilize, to kind of help manage that while you're on the bike?
Thankfully, I've got an amazing team that, because of continuous glucose monitors, I'm actually wearing the G7 right now, the Dexcom G7. It allows me to be able to know what my blood sugar is during the race. And I have our dietitian who's out on the race course the majority of the time, being able to relay me what my blood sugar numbers are, just via our communication ways on the side of the road. It's been paper, it's been her yelling, eat more. It's been, all sorts of crazy things. And so I'm being relayed information as far as my blood sugar all the time. And I'm also trying to prepare myself blood sugar wise, both before the race and for during the race and after the race as well. And thankfully to technology, we've been able to be pretty successful at it and just getting better and better every day with it.
I'm trying to imagine riding by and there's seen a sign that says eat more.
Right? Yeah. Yep. So,
Have you ever had any like close calls? It's just like, ooh, because maybe you're just got into cycling, so you're kind of trying to figure things out so you can manage it properly, or
Yeah, when I first started racing, I definitely had a lot of really low blood sugars during racing, and I unfortunately can't feel my low blood sugars, and so it became pretty critical, pretty quick that we get it corrected. Because I would get pretty low. And so, thankfully, because of just learning fueling practices on the bike and what my body needs and can and cannot handle, I've been able to improve it a lot. And it's getting better every race. But definitely in the beginning for sure, because I had not been diabetic long before I had started racing. It was definitely hard. So, but it's getting better every single day. And it's, I'm hoping one day it's just another tool I'm using on the bike, and just feels that much easier.
Yeah, it sounds like you become very intuitive with like what your body needs.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I know the things that work for me, and so I try to stick to the things that work for me. And it's definitely, yeah, for me, I'm a creature of habit, and it's just a lot of that has just been because of the diabetes and the spinal cord injury. I try to do what works the best for me as far as trial and error throughout time and stuff.
Always a fun learning process, trial and error.
For sure. Yeah.
So I just kind of want to circle back because something that keeps sticking out to me is, you talk about the USA team and its mission and like your mission. And so kind of moving forward, I know, Paralympics are on your mind right now, but like moving in forward or in the future and things like that, do you have kind of like a certain mission that you want to do or like goals you want to achieve or maybe how you want to give back to the community?
Yeah, I have yet to even think about that, yet. I feel like I'm still in full swing of just learning about racing and what all it, has to entail for me, and so I'm still in that, taking it just day by day and learning as much as I possibly can every day. So yeah, I'm just so new to the sport, that yeah, I have yet to figure out my big purpose, but I know it's definitely there, and I'm already working on it. So
That's fair. That's understandable. Like I
yeah,
said, you're 3 years in and going to the Paralympics, which is a really fantastic opportunity that you get to go do, and you worked really hard to
yeah,
do it. So
yep,
we're right here at it. But
yeah.
when, when you got into the sport, though, did someone maybe mentor you and take you under their wing?
So yeah, getting into adaptive sports, Mary Freebed really mentored me, as far as just getting involved with the community of sports. And I couldn't thank them enough, both Mary Freebed and my close mentor, Nick Long. If it weren't for them, I would not be where I am today, because their whole mission, both Mary Freebed and him, is getting people doing what they love and getting them out and active. And it's, yeah, without them, I would not be here today. And so I'm absolutely honored to have been able to cross paths with them and continue to have strong friendships with them.
So seeing how like hand cycling and rugby has really changed your life, and you mentioned that going on the bike, you kind of get away from the stressors of the day to day. You get to just kind of ride and zone out when you go on a ride. Do you think it's important that like people start to realize how like impactful exercise and just sports in general can be in your life?
Oh yeah, most definitely do. I had done rowing able-bodied, but did not see the side of sports like I do today, since sustaining my spinal cord injury. Sports definitely is a whole nother community as far as, just showing what's possible and getting people together and getting people outside of their comfort zones and trying new things and defying limits and discovering and all of the above. It's amazing at just showing people, there is so much this world has to offer, and it might even be because of trying a sport that you discover something completely different, and it may not even be sport related, which is completely fine. It gets people. Just sports have gotten me involved in both the sports community, but also the everyday community in so many incredible ways that I am just so honored to be able to be a part of. And so, yeah, sports bring people together and show people what's possible.
You mentioned that, doing the able bodied rowing and now being the hand cyclist and in that sport, you kind of had like a different, I guess you could say, outlook or perspective. Could you kind of elaborate on like how that changed and kind of the perspectives of the community you're a part of now?
Yeah, when I was a rower, I did it throughout high school, and I did it because I had some friends on there, a couple friends that were I was really close with, and it was really just a small community type thing for me. Got me doing an activity outside of school, but really didn't see it much more than that. I definitely was competitive with it and had my competitive spirit with it and worked very hard at it, but I definitely did not view it like I view sports today. As far as impacting others and even how much it impacted me. I did rowing because I loved being on the water and I loved the sport, but I didn't necessarily see you know, the things that I see that hand cycling, wheelchair, but rugby has brought me of just showing me what's possible in the world and how strong I truly am, and allowing me to show others how strong they truly are and what's possible.
Would you be able to elaborate on like how it's shown you like how you can be strong and like what you're capable of?
Yeah, I was, in rehab. When I first entered rehab, I was given some pretty harsh realities as far as what I wouldn't be able to do in everyday life. I was told I'd need help 24/7 with everyday things, from dressing to bathing to feeding and everything. And I really didn't like that answer, but thankfully within that same hospital was the rec therapy program who had a bunch of adaptive sports equipment, and there was a bunch of other patients on that floor as well who were around the same age, and we were all like, we want to get back to our lives, and we don't know what our lives are going to look like, but we want to get back to living a good life. And so, yeah, it was because of that that just made me realize like you can have so much stripped away from you, but with a little bit of determination and support from those around you, like so much can be done and you can see so much progress and recovery and just discovery as far as what is out there, who's out there, um, and what is possible as far as our everyday lives, and both for me both on and off the bike.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to explain it because, a lot of people are told some like things like you won't be able to do this again or that again, and then it's like, nah, hold my beer, watch this. And I think that's what's great is but it does, like you said, it comes down to you, and you have to be willing to put in the effort to do it.
Hmm. Yep, 100%.
What's the process like for you guys when it comes to like in season, off season, and stuff like that? When it comes to like training and planning everything out?
Yeah, for me, I try to, in season, my training becomes a lot more dialed in and focused. Whereas off season, I'm just trying to enjoy the bike and explore some new routes and have opportunity to do some more local rides and stuff. And also just step away from the bike a little bit in some ways and pick up wheelchair rugby, which has always been a goal of mine to continue since I've started competing in hand cycling. Um, and so, yeah, it's just a balancing act of we can't go hard all the time. And so you definitely have to take a step back at times and just let your body recover and rejuvenate and stuff. Because, this is a sport that is very, very hard. These last 2 years have not allowed for much recovery time. Um, but yeah, it's no, I love the sport and just, for me, I've been able to discover so much being on the bike, which is why I love it so much and discover so many new places. That yeah, it's I love every single day of it, the hard days and the bad days. They all just gel together.
Do you have a favorite place that you like to ride and race, and maybe some like future aspirations of like where you want to maybe just go ride to ride?
So my favorite place I've rode so far is definitely Italy. It was so pretty out there. I'm very excited to ride in Switzerland. We'll have about a little over a week to be able to do some exploring throughout there, and I'm super excited just to see how that goes and, you know, um, where we can discover via. We're kind of just open coursing it as far as where we're going to go up until needing to be to Zurich. So it's going to be fun.
How much time do you have between like the end of the Paralympics and then get to Zurich?
It's going to be, I think, a little over a week. So not too long, but just long enough to get some good discovering.
That's fair. Do you guys have like a bucket list of items you're going to try to like see kind of on your way down, or
My big one was the Swiss Alps. I know there's a couple things my mom wants to see as well, so it's going to be fun. We're just
that sounds
kind of leaving the table open to, you know, if we see somewhere that looks cool, we'll veer that way. If we don't, we'll keep going and veer off a little bit if we need to. But yeah, we're excited.
that's awesome to hear. Yeah, that I've seen a lot of photos of the Alps and stuff like that, and they look very beautiful. So
Yeah,
that'll be a good time, especially
for
if you get to
sure.
ride through some of the hills and the roads and stuff like that.
Yeah, super excited.
So I know you do a lot of like road cycling and things like that, but do you ever get into like kind of the mountain biking and other stuff and trails?
I have not yet. There's a few other cyclists that I know who have, but I personally have just stuck to road. So hope to one day, but have not yet.
You're in a perfect place for it out in Colorado.
I know. I know.
Are you originally from that area, or did you move down there because the Olympic team and stuff like that?
Yep. So I had resided in Michigan previously, but now I'm out here in Colorado Springs at the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center. So yeah, and I have been for just about 2 years now.
It's a big change over a couple years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd lived up in the same house from the day I was adopted up until moving out here. So yeah, it was definitely a big change for me, but I've loved every single bit of it.
What's your favorite part about Colorado?
Just that all the riding is results in absolutely beautiful scenery. You know, it's been absolutely incredible.
So you mentioned that you really loved like riding in Italy, but is there like a dream destination place that you want to go ride?
You know, I don't have like a dream destination place. For me, it's just been I'm so much of a person. Just give me a little, you know, a thumbtack to throw at a wall, and sure, I want to go check it out. I just throw me somewhere around the world, and I'll find its little niches and stuff. That's a big thing I'm a fan of.
Awesome. Well, Kate, I really appreciate your time this evening and talking to us and sharing kind of your story. And we're really excited to hear about you going to the Paralympics, and we're going to root you on, and then
Yeah,
definitely look for the World Cup as well.
for sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Yes, for sure. Have a great one.